Pokemon Sword and Shield, the most controversial Pokemon mainline games to this date, and that's saying something considering what we got last year. From the moment it was announced that not all Pokemon were gonna make it to Sword and Shield, all hell broke loose, with many not finding the call worth it, considering how almost everything is essentially the same as it always was. As of this moment in time, we are 3 days away from its release, and the state of the community, while it's much more positive than before, is pretty much still the same as it always was, with new controversy always resulting from each new bit of information revealed. If you want a summarized rundown, this is how it is. Bring back the National Dex! Bring back the National Dex! This game is trash! Game Freak's trash! I just want to see my Lando T again!
Oh my god, Tiffany, this community is the most toxic thing ever. Let's keep making excuses for everything Game Freak has done and call everyone entitled,
even though that's not how you're supposed to use that term, you piece of shit! We, at the Pokemon Company, have heard your complaints and very much understand your concerns. And to answer all of your worries, I'm very happy to announce that we have another Charizard form! So yeah, that's pretty much what it's been throughout these last few months, and even as we're so close to its release date, this vicious cycle seems to just keep on going and going. Personally speaking, I have been one of those individuals that have been very critical about Pokemon's approach in their games throughout these last few years. That said, despite all these months, my perspective has grown, and despite the gripes that I still do very much have with the game itself, mind you, and how, in my opinion, that is, horribly it's been marketed throughout these last few months, which I will cover in a future video of mine, I understand that it's pointless to talk about all of these evident issues of the game so far, seeing as to how so many other Pokemon YouTubers, or YouTubers in general, have already covered it. So instead, I, despite being the very critical Pokemon fan that you see before you, am going to explain why Pokemon Sword and Shield will still be great games in their own rights, and how the statement of Game Freak not caring for their products anymore simply isn't true. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gunner, and with that being said, enough of me rambling on, let's get this show on the road, shall we? To start things off, let's talk about the core of the issue being the cut Pokemon itself. Just like most people out there, I was not particularly happy when I saw the announcement of the Pokédex getting cut.
Nothing but lies! 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 Lies!
If anything, I was appalled because again, with the exception of the models getting reskinned, everything from the idle animations to the move executions were pretty much the exact same, with the only new forms of animations being those for the moves themselves. Add that with their supposed justification, I genuinely don't see any sense of equivalent exchange here. Despite my gripes with this decision from a technical standpoint, I for one very much argue that the Pokemon getting cut in the first place could be a massive blessing in disguise. For what, you may ask? Competitive Pokemon battling. Now before I start, I just want to clarify that most of the information that I'm about to drop will be mostly Smogon related, as I happen to be the most experienced in that field. This is because with Sword and Shield's release, we will have a total of 1,000 Pokemon if we are to consider Mega Evolutions and other forms. See, the issue with that is that it's inherently difficult to balance a game that has so much variety in it. With the introduction of Mega Evolutions and new Pokemon, the whole metagame underwent a massive power and speed creep. Whilst it was initially a very welcome change of pace, and something that made many consider X and Y to be the most enjoyable Pokemon game for competitive battling, with the introduction of even more Megas in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the competitive scene reached a point where you were essentially forced to have a Pokemon or two in your squad unless you wish to get demolished by those said Mega Evolutions, such as Mega Medicham and Mega Metagross. It's why Pokemon such as Landorus Terrien was the premier Pokemon that was present in most teams, as it was pretty much one of the very few ones that could try to keep those busted Pokemon in check. As such, this caused a massive strain in creativity, and by the end of its lifespan, led to the whole scene just pretty much becoming dry. Generation 7 didn't help matters much either, as with the introduction of Z-moves, along with new Pokemon such as Tapu Koko and Lele, with other new threats such as Ash Greninja, Magearna, and so much more, the whole game itself just became unstable. It reached a point where no matter what build you ended up making, you were guaranteed to be weak to a particular Pokemon or two, except this time, it's much worse. These threats ended up causing much more strain in team building, once again forcing you to have them in your squad unless you want to set yourself up for guaranteed failure. And even then, there's no promise, as with Z-moves existing, a Pokemon like Kartana, that in theory is supposed to get walled by a physically defensive Zapdos, ends up outright obliterating it with a +2 Z Giga Impact. Through cutting the Pokédex, along with removing Z-moves and Megas, we are essentially back at square one again. Add that with Gigantamax and Dynamax lasting only 3 turns, chances are that we could very well finally get a metagame again that promotes creativity in team building. That doesn't force you to have those 2 to 3 specific Pokemon because of those over-centralizing threats that can just outright sweep your team if you don't have the essential countermeasures for it. Instead, we can potentially finally get a metagame again that was as entertaining as Generation 4 OU, early XY OU, or even better. The possibilities are endless, and I, despite not liking Gigantamax and Dynamax as much as Mega Evolutions, mind you, cannot wait to experience it. To conclude on the whole cut dex matter, the main blessing through such an action is that they can finally put all their efforts and resources into making a game that is full of content, from the story to the activities that you can engage in throughout your journey. Something that strongly lacked in X and Y because they prioritized fitting in all the Pokemon over finishing the damn game. As a result, we got a regen with eons of unanswered questions, potential areas that led to absolutely nothing, and a lacking story involving characters that have as much quality as Australia's internet. No, like seriously, how the f is it possible for a first world country to have worse internet than Kenya, for crying out loud? Sorry about that. Let's continue, shall we? That, and there really was nothing much to do in the post-game other than a mini story arc, Friend Safari, which was quite literally walking around in a patch of grass, and Wi-Fi battling. So yeah, I for one am still critical and have my fair share of doubts with Game Freak's statements, considering how contradictory they have been throughout these last few years. But with the little bits of cutscenes that we've seen so far, I think we're in good hands this time around. Now don't get me wrong, I completely understand why this belief exists in the first place, from them cutting the decks to the same animations to the rather questionable displays and Game Freak's contradictory responses, combined with the Pokemon Company's arguably horrendous marketing. It's only natural that a good portion of the fanbase would be thinking the way that they are right now. Add that with many others cashing in on the situation, it's become an almost common belief right now that Game Freak simply just doesn't care about their products anymore. And do you want to know what I have to say about that? Bullshit. Like I said, I completely understand why many would think that way, as I used to be on the same boat too. However, let's take a step back and put things into perspective, shall we? And by that, I mean the core fundamental elements of this game: the Pokemon, the region, and the music. Despite the limited promotional material shown throughout these months so far, which I'm very grateful for, mind you, Galar immediately catches the unique feel with its overall presentation, from the special sites to even the town setup. These towns, according to many of my British friends, match what it is based off: the UK region. It, in my eyes at least, genuinely feels like a fully fleshed out Pokemon region that is simply waiting to be explored, and that anybody who does so is guaranteed to have a good time. The same case applies for the new Pokemon too, as they have, and very quickly might I add, become adored and loved by the fanbase because of their cute and amazing designs. These Pokemon genuinely do come off as something that have a lot of thought put behind them, and I very much look forward to potentially encountering them and having them in my party for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Well, maybe except Duraludon. Personal preferences aside, you get what I mean. The new Pokemon, along with the Galarian forms shown so far, genuinely look great to many people, myself included. The new cast of characters shown this time around are no exception either. Not only have their designs also become greatly appreciated by the fans, they genuinely do look like unique and compelling characters. Something that I have very strong faith it will be, because they are created by Sword and Shield's director, Shigeru Omori, the same person who created other fan favorites such as Lily, Lusamine, Guzma, and the other colorful cast of Alola that captured everybody's heart. Hell, the fact that he dreams of those said characters as actual human beings when he sleeps at night very much shows to me just how much thought, care, and genuine love he has for those creations. I for one very much cannot wait to experience their story. And finally, the music. Oh my god, the music. It is so gorgeous on so many levels that I am shocked to see them consistently be able to bring out such high quality music as the years go by. So yeah, to say that Game Freak themselves don't care about the franchise anymore or their creations is, in my eyes, simply not true. The day that truly does happen, these primary elements that make Pokemon the phenomenon it is right now will no longer be present. And that time is not in Sword and Shield. At the end of the day, Pokemon Sword and Shield is far from what I wished to be. The same can be said for a great portion of the fan base, hence all the outrage in the first place. Add that with the wonky promotional material shown and some of Game Freak's responses, there's a reason why there is so much spite mixed with concern in the fan base. People can try to make all theories that they want about who's to blame, whether it be Game Freak themselves or the Pokemon Company. At the end of the day, this is nothing but speculation, and it will stay that way because we're all consumers. Personally, despite the many issues that I have with the game itself from all the material shown, I still believe that the love and care in those three primary elements in Pokemon games, being the region, Pokemon, and the music, is still very much there. And I do have belief that a great story, full of memorable characters await us, with a very enjoyable competitive metagame beneath all its controversy. And I really hope, with every fiber of my being, and whatever little optimism I have left for this game, that I'm right, and that I'm truly left surprised. So yeah, that, my friends, wraps up my overall thoughts of Pokemon Sword and Shield before its release date. I kind of apologize in advance if some of the information that I just, disclosed is kind of backdated, because I actually started working on this 2 weeks before, and I finished everything before that, but unfortunately I couldn't go on to, making sure it was up by that specific time, because I was kind of really busy with finishing my other assignments and my other tests, because in case you guys don't know, this was like my last ever semester, and to top it off, I wasn't really motivated to make any sort of content, which was why I made you guys wait a whole month for this. So I'm really sorry, and yeah, I just hope that this video that I showed to you guys is made up for it in some shape or fashion. But regardless, just know that now that everything's over, your boy is much more motivated than he ever was, and come Pokemon Sword and Shield, I have a really nice series in store for each and every single one of you. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video in any way, feel free to drop a like on this video and let me know in the comment section down below your overall thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Shield. Join my non-existent Patreon, and with that, I'll see you all when Sword and Shield drops. Peace!